Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, whichever part of the world you are joining us from. Global Council for the Promotion of International Trade welcomes you all for this exciting Global Sustainable Development Summit 2023. I am Ananya Banerjee. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, whichever part of the world you are joining us from. Global Council for the Promotion of International Trade welcomes you all for this exciting Global Sustainable Development Summit 2023. I am Ananya Banerjee Chatterjee, the R&D and Communication Officer for GCPIT and your host for the evening. Sustainable development is a guiding principle for achieving human development goals while preserving natural system capacity to provide the natural resources and ecosystems that the economy and society rely on. These words encapsulate the core philosophy of the summit in an era of rapid industrialization and environmental concerns. The pursuits of sustainable development is not just an option but a necessity. It is a vision that seeks to balance the well being of humanity with the preservation of our planet resources. The Sustainable Development Goals have set ambitious targets that necessitate a transformation in both public and private sector activities. This transformation involves new business models, innovative technologies, and more sustainable and ethical businesses. It opens up new opportunities for the private sector, the MSMEs, poised to benefit significantly. Sustainable business models are projected to unlock more than 12 trillion in global GDP, creating 380 million jobs with more than half of them located in developing countries. Opportunities for MSMEs have been identified under each SDG, and the Global Sustainability Development Summit 2023 will focus on showcasing businesses examples and SDG supporting good practices initiatives relevant to MSMEs. So let's begin today's summit. I would like to call our first speaker, Dr. Evans Jakpa Jones, Chief Executive Officer, JOJ Energy Resources, and Executive Director for Ella Lakes PLC. He is a distinguished corporate leader driving change in agile leadership, emerging technologies, circular economy, and the fourth industrial revolution. With a firm commitment to fostering global prosperity, justice, and sustainability, his visionary ideas resonate with developing economies. Welcome, Dr. Evans, and over to you.
Thank you very much, Anya, for that quite distinguished introduction. Before I start, good afternoon wherever you are, and good evening if you're in Asia, and distinguished participants. I need help with my PowerPoint. How do I share it on the screen?
Yes, please.
View. Minute. It's refusing to share.
Dr. Evans, if you can share the PPT
I'm
or
having
something. Okay. No,
problem.
I was saying you can download the PPT and share it in the Zoom itself. Then we can show it for you.
Okay, how do I download that?
Yes, and kindly download it in PDF format and upload in the Zoom only.
It's right there in my system. Share screen located in your meeting controls. Select the browser tab, app, window, or enter desktop. Okay. I don't know, this occurs sometimes.
No problem. You can
Sorry
download
if
and
not.
no problem. You can download and share the file in Zoom. We will play it for you.
Where do I download it from?
It's in
How do I
your
download it?
Santosa. Could you please help him?
I'm unable to locate the share screen. Okay.
Okay, can you just help me out? Where have you kept the file?
Pardon me?
Can you just send, do you have Ananya WhatsApp number? Can you just send the file to WhatsApp?
Yeah, I can. I'll send it to her.
Yeah, please send it to her. Please send it to her.
Yes.
It's sent now, please.
Okay.
Sorry, distinguished participant, for the delay.
Santosa, I have shared you the PPT.
The actual PPP.
Yes, I have sent it to.
Thought you requested to the.
Start. Go ahead, please.
Are you okay with that?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. First slide, please. Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry again for the disruption, and I sincerely apologize, distinguished participants. I am honored to address you today at this third Global Sustainable Development Summit. My name is Dr. Evans Jakpa Jones, and I represent JOJ Energy and Enalec PLC. Today, if you look at the topic, we're embarking on a critical exploration of how technology can serve as a catalyst in the transition from a linear to a circular economy within the unique context of sub-Saharan Africa. I just wanted to take you through a distinct and narrow it down to sub-Saharan Africa, which represent developing economies. The pursuit of sustainable development in this region, especially sub-Saharan Africa, is commendable, but it's also imperative considering its multifaceted challenges. African populations is projected to increase significantly in the coming decade, leading to increased material and energy consumption in terms of production and waste generation. And recently, according to the Brookings Institute, developing countries would be the most severely affected. And the research evidence kind of project that developing country economies will emit more greenhouse gas emission as early as 2030. Therefore, for a continent like Africa, circular economy readiness should be seen from a sustainable development economy. Please, next slide. Okay, and with less than a decade to 2030, delivering a good and quality life to a growing and dynamic population like the sub-Saharan Africa, while respecting the planetary limit will require a fundamental transformation to how materials and resources can fulfill our need. Sub-Saharan Africa, however, grapples with a myriad of sustainability challenges. This encompasses resource scarcity, waste management, and issues regarding severe environmental degradation. All factors collectively necessitate a paradigm shift in the way we utilize and consume our natural resources. Next slide, please. Introduction to technology and how it affects and catalyze the circular economy. And actually, before diving into the role of technology and how technology enables the circular economy, I would like to first clarify the essence of the circular economy. And its stark contrast to the conventional linear economy, which is the use and throwaway model of our present economic paradigm, and then advocating for an holistic approach that aims to minimize waste and maximize resource utilization by promoting recycling, reuse, and refurbish. I don't know if you've heard of the dynamic 3 R's. The circular economy is a dynamic, integrative economic system. It is based on 3 principles, which are clearly elimination of waste and pollution, circulation of materials and products at the highest value, and regenerating nature. These all concepts actually aligns with sustainable development principles. However, circular economy concept is not yet well established in the African continent. It's in its nascent stage compared to continents like Europe or China. But however, this is where technology comes in. technology has the potential actually to catalyze the transition to a circular economy by enabling efficient resource use. It can also enable efficiency in waste reduction and the 3 R's, which is reuse, recycle, and repurpose. Digital technology as well plays 2 key roles according to evidential research, which is an enabler and also a trigger in transitioning from a linear economy to the circular economy. I mean, there are concepts and technologies like Industrial 4.0 and 3D printing approaches, which can be used and adopted by corporations and industry to develop a circular business model, such as product as service, and the sharing platforms like the popular sharing services like Uber, Bolt, and Netflix, and the rest. Next slide, please. Is that the 5th slide? Yes. The role of African public leadership, I'll just grab through this a little bit. My personal research evidence kind of tint into government policies and regulations, which plays a fundamental role in the journey of crafting the circular economy, and a conducive legal framework is essential as a support and as a regulation transition to this paradigm. And also to navigate this path, an anomalous balance of free market dynamics and regulatory intervention is necessary. For example, the implementation of the extended product producers responsibility policies, which is quite eminent and successful in the global north. Next slide, please. I'll just take you briefly through the green economic change. Africa may drive green growth by initiating fundamental reforms and an integrative infrastructure, employing cutting-edge technology. There again, technology comes in terms of how materials and processes can be optimized and be effective for national development, environmental protection, and also foster circularity, which aligns especially with sustainable development. These imperatives can be national self-interest to boost economic growth and provide cheaper and more inclusive access to modern energy. Why I said self-interest, these can be modern and unique, and because you have to adapt technologies and new innovations according to regions and according to the unique environment. In Africa, especially, energy is quite a scarce commodity, and there are a lot of technological spillovers that the African continent can actually adopt to promote clean and affordable energy, especially with concept of like the green energy and the blue energy. Transition into a circular economy, can you go back to the previous slide, please? Before the challenges. Yes. In sub-Saharan Africa, collaborations and among government, businesses, and NGOs, I foretell is indispensable, and there should be synergies in terms of investment. Next slide, please. Yeah, just a few challenges regarding, sustainable development in Africa, because while technology has immense potential, it is also crucial to recognize the challenges and considerations that impact the implementation. As, for example, access to technology, infrastructure limitations, the need to digital literacy, the environment and the workforce need to be upskilled and reskilled with digital literacy, and also most prominently the political will to actually help the African continent to integrate and transition into a more viable economy. So that is lagging, which is one of the barriers to the transitions to the circular economy, or rather sustainable development in Africa. Next slide, please. Yeah, in this slide, the intention is to give real time and real world case studies. I'll just take you through. There are a lot of companies there, but I'll just take you through one or two cases that have actually adopted the circular economy as a means of their business model. For example, there's a company in Ghana, EnviroServe. EnviroServe is a leading e-waste recycling company in Ghana. They use advanced technology to safely and efficiently dismantle, recycle, and refurbish electronic waste. Their operations most significantly not only reduce the environmental impact of e-waste, but also provide employment and opportunities for local community. If I look at case 2, there is two companies I identified there, one in Nigeria and one in Kenya. In the Kenya, Twiga Foods. Twiga Foods is a Kenya agri-tech company that connects small-scale farmers, urban retailers. Their mobile based platform allows farmers to access fair pricing information, financial service, and distribution. It also helps optimize small farmer orders and bring them to the marketplace. And in my third example, which is the circular supply chain, this time I want to talk about Recycle Point. This one is in Nigeria. Recycle Point is a Nigerian recycling waste management company that operates a circular supply chain model. They use technology to incentivize recycling by rewarding individuals for collecting recycling and products like collecting waste from rubbish and all this stuff. So they have a technological app that actually integrates real time, you understand, the pickers and the buyers, and also the distributors that takes it to the dump where it is finally recycled. Next slide, please. Yes, summary and conclusion. In conclusion, because of time, I would want to reiterate that technology is the linchpin, and in sub-Saharan mission of the transition to a circular economy. This can be seen through practical case studies that I just illustrated. You know, there's a whole lot of it. And recognizing the inherent challenges, you know, we have to overcome those barriers, and we have to explore how technology in itself can be harnessed to address these sustainability challenges, and also try to optimize the critical mass of technology diffusion. In addition, the global workforce, in terms of developing economy, needs to be upskilled and reskilled, just as I mentioned earlier, to equip them of the know-how and the tools and the technology transformation. This will actually enhance jobs and upgrade the skill force. However, there's a misconception out there that there will be loss of jobs to automation. Yes, many jobs are going to go, but also research evidence also ascertained that many other jobs are going to be created, and therefore there's going to be an emphasis on education and the knowledge transfer of new approaches and methods to require accomplished and efficient transformation. And on a very final note, during my doctorate research, one of the significant findings that we found out was recommendation on strong political will to foster technology readiness and that enables the circular economy transition in developing countries that aligns with the sustainable development principles. Thank you very much. And this is the end of my presentation. I am open for questions if there is any.
Thank you, Dr. Evans. Thank you for sharing such useful information with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So our next speaker is Mr. Sandeep Hancharni, Partnership Lead, the Shola Trust. He is a passionate sales and marketing professional with over 12 years of experience across FMCG, telecom, e-commerce, and food tech industry. He has the experience of launching business ground up in an agile environment and building impact teams to foster growth in both startups and ventures an established organization, he is actively building resilient pathways for rural and tribal communities towards economic and ecological sustainability. Welcome, Mr. Sandeep, and over to you.
Thanks a lot, Anya. Is my screen visible?
Uh, no, it's showing Sandeep has started screen sharing, but it's not visible yet.
It's not visible yet.
You can share me your PPT the same way Dr. Evans did, so that we can present it from my end.
Is it fine now?
Oh, yes, it's visible.
All right. Good. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever everybody is joining from. I'm Sandeep Hanchnale. I'm partnerships lead with the Shola Trust currently. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I would straight away jump into the presentation. Today's topic of discussion from my end is around invasive plant-based circular economy opportunity. I'm sure you guys recognize this beautiful ornamental plant. This is called as Lantana camera. It must have been in and around balconies, in gardens, in different formats and different spaces, right? But do we all know that this is one of the largest, challenges which the Indian forest officials and government of India is currently facing, not only in India but also abroad. If you Google for invasive plant species, you'll get a lot of information. In India, again, there's lantana. You must have heard about water hyacinth. You must have heard about prosopis. You must have heard about parthenium. Now, all of these are invasive plants. Now, as per Mongabe, invasive plants means plants that do not occur naturally in a region. Basically, it's from somewhere else, but proliferate in that area they have been introduced into and cause severe negative impacts to the native biodiversity, right? And also not only native biodiversity, it also causes economic loss. It harms human health in certain ways. So all of these are ill effects of having an invasive species in and around us, right? Invasive plant species. As I said, there is prosopis, there is parthenium, there is water hyacinth, there is lantana. There are many more. If you Google, you will get many more results. Right? But these are the common, which I'm sure you must have heard about in some format or other. It's a very stubborn weed, which is Lantana camera. Right? So it's one of the world's top 10 most invasive plant species. It's very toxic and inedible for all herbivorous, so significant biodiversity reduction occurs in wherever they are. And it also acts in increasing human wildlife conflict as animals are pushed outside the forest periphery and then they kind of enter the human settlements. Its allelopathic properties puts out chemicals that inhibit the growth of other plants. Basically, it doesn't allow anything else to grow. It inhibits the growth of other plants. So it kind of takes over the entire area wherever it is. If it cuts, it kind of proposes vigorously and grows back faster and stronger. So it has to be removed along with its roots. So there's a certain way, cut root stock method, and there's other ways also, but that has been the one which has been most successful. The soil disturbance has to be minimal. There's a rabbit seed bank which remains viable under the soil, and the moment it is kind of exposed, it germinates if it's disturbed, and it also propagates well vegetatively from places to places, from pieces of plants left which are smaller ones, and it kind of regrows fast. So overall, it's a very stubborn weed. It's if you see the image on the screen, to bottom, right, there's a person who's standing there in a thick bush of lantana. So imagine wild animals being in such places, and you literally cannot see what is standing maybe 5 or 10 feet in front of you with such lantana invasion. It said approximately 13 million hectares is the infestation of lantana in India, from et al. In forest areas at the national park, there is an infestation of over 3 lakh square kilometer. It said more than 4 times the combined area of all tiger reserves in the country. It can cost up to 1,60,000 crores to remove all of this and restore. And traditional manual removal mechanism is not feasible. It's labor intensive. It's difficult. Maybe in small and medium, density areas, it is fine. But what about high density areas? It's a little difficult. So there are new methods which have been being developed, and all of this is happening as we speak. This is not new problem. It has been happening over many years, and all the governments, not only government of India, but also many governments across the world have been trying to tackle the lantana menace as part of the whole invasive species, right? To give an example, in the Chamarajanagar district, there is the area called as BR Hill Tiger Reserve. How it has taken over Indian forest, this will give you a picture. Like in 1997, it was estimated that native flora was around 96%, and lantana camera was around 4% in these areas. Now imagine a couple of decades later, in 2020, here is the data, native flora has reduced from 96% to 50%, and lantana camera has increased from 4% to 47%. Now imagine how, at what scale it has kind of taken over, and this is just about one, tiger habitat. Imagine the infestation across other places. Right? And as I said, it's also financially unviable to look at it as black and white. Like for example, as per estimates, within a year, it takes almost around 40,000 crores to remove lantana annually in India within a year. And what is the budget being allocated to MOFCC, inclusive of lantana? 3,000 crores. Now, within 3,000 crore, the forest department has to tackle lantana as a challenge, and also many other challenges which are there. So overall, it becomes financially unviable in high density areas. Right? So it's financially also challenging. Now, what happened over the past few years or a decade or so? A lot of people in and around the forest areas found out a way to use lantana. Those who had access to the forest, who were living in forest fringes, etc., they started making handicrafts and furnitures from this. How did they do it? A as an organization is one organization which I know and I work very closely with. Started training these tribal artisans in small handicrafts and furniture making. So over a period of time, they started become independent entities and started acting as one enterprise and doing all of this work. And the word gradually spread. Areas which were interested in lantana, forest fringes where communities were there, tribal settlements were there. All of them started getting curious about how could we make use of this, and this also became a livelihood opportunity for them, right? So on one side, they were actively involved in managing lantana as a challenge along with the forest department. And in the process, there were opportunities where a couple of those sticks can be taken back, made into some beautiful products, and then can be sold. So that is the livelihood opportunity which the tribals got. So it was a win-win situation, and this is how the ways of using of lantana kind of evolved over the past few decades. Here's a couple of images where you can see the tribal artisans making some beautiful furnitures onto the left, and in the forest, you will see some of them very thick lantana stems which are there. They are involved into managing of these lantana infested areas, also taking the right ones which are useful for them in making furnitures. Here are a couple of other products which they had made from lantana camera. So the product kind of evolved over a period of time. Earlier it was handicraft, and slowly they started getting into large scale furnitures, and then into decorative items, and it has evolved over a period of time. This is a beautiful lantana elephant which the current organization, the Shola Trust, people at Shola Trust have made, which talks about how lantana can be used in making such beautiful products, which stands and showcases the craftsmanship of these artisans, as well as it talks about elephants and the way the tribals and elephants have been coexisting in these areas which are infested with lantana, and also the elephants have been freely roaming around in these places. So it's a nice way to communicate coexistence as a concept by the tribals. Right? These are some of the other furnitures which the tribals have made. Now shifting from tribal settlements, let's look at rural settlements, which are more towards outskirts of forest and more towards hinterlands, right? So how the community looks at lantana, right? For the farmers and for the people in and around these places, there has been a decline in millet cultivation, which was provided space for lantana to grow on barra lands. So wherever so lantana has taken up, their area of growing has kind of reduced. They have difficulty in accessing non-timber forest producers, which they earlier had access to because of the areas. The pathways have all been taken over by this invasive species. There is a reduction in access to fodder, ideal habitat for wild goose and roosting, and then leading to crop raiding. Like they got fantastic opportunity to kind of breed, and then the crop raiding kind of increase. So it is again a challenge for the communities. There is reduction in visibility for, as you saw in the previous image. The use of lantana as low quality fuel wood and for fencing has been happening because it's available. They now take it back to their home. So this is how a community kind of looks at this as a challenge. And how are they looking at managing lantana? There is Shramdan, which has been happening by the community to manage the rework of lantana. Ecological benefits to restoration of private lands in adjoining forests have been happening. Livelihood benefits for the community from private lands is happening. Grazing and NTFP collection is happening. Community-led farming of millets is happening. So these are the ways in which the community has come together in managing areas infested with lantana. Now let's look at some numbers in terms of how much of lantana is available. For example, in Hills, Malay Madheshwara Hills in Chamarajanagar district, Karnataka border, Tamil Nadu border, it's estimated to be around 25,000 tons of lantana as a biomass. Now, what happens when they make furniture? They hardly use around 18 to 20%, and the remaining 30% is leaves and roots. So there's almost 50% which can be used potentially to make some products. So we tried multiple things, and not only us, but there are multiple organizations which have tried multiple prototypes. Like they made particle boards out of it, they made wood plastic composites out of it, they made bio brakes, they used it in gasification as a fuel wood, and then byproduct was biochar. So what I'm trying to say here is that while the native usage of it was furniture, there is also an opportunity for commodity-based products to kind of come up. But where is the challenge? The challenge is that we have to make it economically viable, but being ecologically viable also. Like while the artisan work can happen in terms of elephants and in terms of furniture, etc., that can absorb the cost of removal. But the moment we shift into commodity-based products, you need to have efficient ways of removing lantana from the forest, managing it, bringing it across outside, and then making it available at a price point which is fit for at a factory gate for all the factories and other big institutions to kind of pick that up. So the learning was there is a need to reduce the cost from to around 3 rupees a kg, which is in India, which is a common commodity based price for any wood-based pulverized material. So while we move away from the artisanal products to commodity-based products, the price of removal has to be factored in, and it has to come within that range, which are currently outside, right? So that is the current challenge which we are facing right now, wherein for this whole thing to be economically viable, but being ecologically viable also, there has to be efficiency built in terms of better methods of removal and restoration, with which we will be able to reduce the price from currently I believe and varies in high density, low density, but approximately around 8 to 9 rupees per kg is the cost of removal. But that can come down to 3 or 4 rupees. I think then it becomes a viable opportunity. And the overall opportunity is there in front of us. Like there is a community-led conservation which is there. There is livelihood opportunities which are available. There's opportunity to restore it with grasslands because that's what herbivorous animals are looking for. And lantana, when it comes over, it deprives them of that space. And then there is opportunity for agroforestry to be created in and around forest fringes, not in the forest area, but also in the buffer zone, outside of which can be kind of managed by the community and within the community-led areas also. And between all of this, there is a beautiful opportunity of circular economy which can be created, right? So like, for example, you are removing something which is bad for the environment and ensuring that there is livelihood which is being created in between. Some of the products which I say, like gasification, for an example, there is an opportunity to generate clean energy out of it. There is biochar, which is a byproduct, and the biochar can go back into the soil and sequester carbon. So this is this whole circularity which kind of kicks in, and this is a beautiful opportunity in creating one such. I wouldn't say it can be a business model or a way of working or managing of lantana, but overall it's better for the planet. Right? There's, as I said, putting back into perspective, there is design innovation which is possible. There is coexistence which is possible. There is removal and restoration opportunity which is there. Imagine, just look at the places like the top left is areas which is infested with lantana. And when you remove and restore Lantana, look how clean and clear it kind of looks. And there is livelihood opportunity amidst all of this, right? And sustainable development goals, various 7-8 sustainable development goals it kind of covers. But as I mentioned, there is poverty, which can be addressed with this. There is responsible consumption, which can be addressed. There's climate action. So there's a lot of opportunity to kind of use this to drive sustainable development goals. I'd stop there. Thank you so much for being wonderful audience today. I would be happy to take on any questions. I think I have a minute or so left.
Thank you, Mr. Sandeep, for joining, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us. And thank you.
Lovely. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Good evening, everybody.
So I would like to call our next speaker, Dr. Chandran Vinod Kumar, Chief Supply Chain Officer, GRNRC Ltd. He is a seasoned healthcare supply chain management professional, an innovator, author, researcher, and sustainability advocate. He is trained in comprehensive disaster management (NIDM). His career is marked by a unique blend of academic research and industry spanning more than 2 decades. He has held various leadership roles in internationally renowned healthcare institutions, including Apollo Hospitals Group, Global Health City, and Kim's Health. He has many awards and accolades from organizations both within the country and abroad, a remarkable achievement in his recognition in the India Book of Records (IBR) and Asia Book of Records (ABR). Welcome, Mr. Vinod, and over to you. Mr. Vinod, please unmute yourself.
Good day, everyone. It is a great privilege to be a part of this event. Thanks for providing me the opportunity. I'm going to deliver a talk on the topic affordable healthcare and sustainable strategies. Affordable healthcare, and also I'm going to mention about the key components that contribute to the affordable healthcare and what are the challenges that we face and what are the sustainable strategies that can be adapted to overcome such challenges, and also the sustainable initiatives and approaches taken by my institution in making the healthcare available and accessible at affordable rates, and also the findings in a case study conducted by Harvard School of Public Health. When we say affordable healthcare, it is a very crucial concern for individuals and also the societies worldwide. A solution can be considered as a solution only when it is affordable. And when we say affordable, and you should be a sustainable one also. If it is not sustainable, the affordability cannot last long time. So what are the key components that contribute in making the healthcare affordable? The major key component, one is health insurance. As we all know, the health insurance plays a very crucial role in making healthcare affordable. It helps individuals and families cover the cost of medical expenses, drugs, and the preventive care. The next component is the cost control, controlling the rise cost of healthcare, rising cost of the healthcare services that involves regulating the pricing of medical procedures, medical treatment, and also the encouraging the use of cost-effective treatment. The next component is the preventive care, and the preventive care can reduce the need for the expensive treatment and access to primary care, and which helps in early diagnosis and the management of healthcare health-related issues, and thereby the severe conditions can be prevented, and thereby the medical expenses can be reduced to a greater extent. And another key component is the promotion of generic drugs. As we all know, the generic drugs are all most cost-effective, and they are most affordable than the branded medications. And another component is telemedicine and telehealth services, and which provide the cost-effective access even to the remote areas, rural areas, and especially this telemedicine is helpful in for routine checkups and minor issues. And another component is information technology. By embracing those technologies, we can bring in efficiencies and thereby we can reduce costs. And another component is preventing administrative overload. Here, what I mean is it's like simplifying the administrative process, thereby reducing the cost. And health education is another key component. And educating about health related issues, the importance of preventive care, and also the importance of healthy lifestyle choices. And last but not the least is the social determinants of health, like addressing the social economic factors that have an impact on health, such as like poverty, housing, and education, and which will have a positive impact on affordability. What are the key challenges that we face in making in providing the affordable healthcare? India faces the numerous challenges with like varying economic conditions, a large population, and also the disparities in the public health infrastructure. What are those challenges that we face? The major challenge is the financial barrier, which I mean like the out-of-pocket expenditure, which is always a major challenge. Then inadequate healthcare coverage, because many people were not covered in health insurance schemes, and those people are without any financial safety net for the medical expenses. And another challenge is a limited public health infrastructure, whereas in remote areas, in rural areas, they still lack that adequate healthcare facilities. Then shortage of healthcare workers, another key challenge. Like there is a huge shortage of doctors, nurses, paramedical staff, and also the support staff. And that not only increases the burden on healthcare facilities, but also it leads to a long lead time for the patients. And another key challenge is health inequality, which is now it is a disparities existing among states, and also the socio-economic groups also there is a change. And people in impoverished region and remote areas, they have less access to the healthcare facilities. Then another key challenge is high drug costs. Then next comes chronic disease burden, and increasing prevalence of chronic diseases like diabetes and cardiovascular conditions, driving up the healthcare cost drastically. Then another is a lack of preventive care. The emphasis of preventive care is relatively low. So that is another challenge. Then regulatory challenges, when I say about the government regulations, that is always a complex one, and which hinders growth and development, and also it hinders innovation, innovative processes, and it hinders introduction of new technologies, new products, new services. And another quality of care is another challenge, which I mean is here providing affordable health care of high quality is another key challenge. And health infrastructure funding, adequate funding in rural areas is often lacking. And the health information system, implementation of information technology and associated technologies are still in the infancy stage in most parts of our country, and that can lead to inefficiencies. And when we face all these challenges, how to work such challenges, and what are those strategies? The sustainable strategies for providing affordable health care, and you should not mere focus on the immediate challenges, and you should have a very long, you should focus on a long-term solutions. And what are the strategies that we can adapt is the main one is like establishing and strengthening the universal health coverage, and more priority given to the preventive health care, because that can reduce our disease burden to a greater extent. Then primary health care, which means like strengthening the community health work centers and also the primary care clinics. Then telemedicine and digital health. This is the most cost-effective access to the remote areas, rural areas. And public health private partnership. This is very much essential. So partnership with the private sector, so that no, this is to expand the reach of healthcare to larger areas. Then price control mechanism and encouraging the generic medications, another the best strategy to bring down the cost. Then health workforce development, like investing in training and retaining healthcare professionals, especially in rural areas. Then introducing and implementing the innovative financing models, such as like social impact bonds, which attracts the private investments. Then another strategy is the establishing quality standards for healthcare facilities. Then another strategy will be like adapting all kind of technology so that the efficiency is improved and the cost can be reduced. Then investing in research and innovation is very, very important strategy too, so that we can bring in cost-effective methodologies, cost-effective diagnostic tools, or cost-effective methods, procedures, so that the cost can be reduced. Then social determinants of health, by addressing it, by investing in programs that can alleviate poverty and improve housing, and which can enhance the programs that can enhance educational opportunities. Then last but not least, and public awareness and health education is very important, like promoting the public awareness and encourage and educating about the importance of the preventive care and also the healthy lifestyle choices. And these are all the sustainable strategies that can be adapted to overcome the challenges that we face in making the healthcare affordable. And when I come to the sustainable initiatives and sustainability approaches taken by my institution, I'll give the overall overview of my organization. And GNRC hospital is established in the year 1987, which operates a chain of multi-specialty tertiary care hospitals in Assam and West Bengal. It is one of the finest and also the largest super specialty healthcare group in Eastern India. It is founded by Dr. Nomal Chandra Bora, a renowned neurologist, and also who is widely known as the architect of affordable healthcare. And the GNRC operates 5 tertiary care super specialty hospitals, and the flagship hospital, the GNRC Medical, commenced operation in 2014, which is considered as the ultra low cost and a modern and inclusive multi-specialty tertiary care hospital, and which is considered as the first of its kind facility in the world according to World Bank. What are the salient features of this GNRC model? The foremost uniqueness and core strength is its focus on patient centricity that led to revisit the basic principles of the healthcare design and operations. Let be physical infrastructure, delivery model, engagement with the community, and several other dimensions. The hospital was constructed by workers from base of pyramid community, which reduced labor cost to a greater extent, and simultaneously it generates like the job opportunities for the poor, who in turn increasing the attractiveness of the poor. Then bamboo cladding is used extensively in building exterior, and it acts as a natural insulation and allows the hospital to do away from the air conditioning in common areas, thereby lobbies, reception and all, the air conditioning is avoided, so that we could able to save a lot of energy and also a significant savings. And many hospital items like beds, OT tables are all manufactured indigenously by the hospital itself, so that to help economize cost even further, and those benefits can be passed on to the patient. To address the problem of poverty, the GNRC undertake innovative income generating schemes for the poor people. There will generating assured income for families every month, along with health insurance, which does not come under the purview of schemes. Then the another unique initiative is community health workers, who are all called as Swasthya Mitra. They impart health education at a community level. The emphasis is given to keep the people healthy and disease free. And preventive healthcare is very much a part of this program. And bringing down the cost of healthcare through a disruptive innovation, as I was mentioning, it was through architectural innovations, innovative strategies, and placing hospital at strategic locations. And all accident and emergency patients are catered to free of cost, like emergency services, doctors doctor's consultation, blood tests, and 38 different types of medicines are all given free to the patients for the first 24 hours. For OPD patients, the hospital provides free guidance from the Swasthya Mitra, the committee pool of the free transport services to and fro. And high cost investigations are performed at nominal cost, and surgeries are performed at a third of the market rates. Another silent feature is another initiative, Hospital on Wheels. These buses are repurposed as mobile hospitals, which are all equipped with X-ray machines, sonography machines, and having examination rooms. These buses with the doctors visit remote areas to screen and treat patients free of cost, and air ambulance and medical outreach programs using helicopters to difficult to access remote areas of Northeast India, and energy conservation principles applied in all areas. And GNRC also operates a chain of retail pharmacies that sell items like even the house groceries, FMCG products, personal care products, along with the medicinal and pharma products. And as I was mentioning, it is a low-cost, ultra-low-cost model, eco-friendly, economical, sustainable, and it can be scalable and it can be replicable healthcare delivery model. World Bank Group, through its India Development Marketplace Initiative, has recognized this model and advocating this model to other parts of the country and also outside India. And a case study was conducted by Harvard School of Public Health. They have acknowledged our commitment, this institution's commitment to healthcare in providing affordable healthcare to the poor population. This study explores, this acknowledges the GNRC's role in delivering an integrated healthcare services to low-income populations in Assam and Northeast India. And this study concludes with a statement saying that the GNRC provides a good example of how an organization can successfully combine both the patient-centered approach and also the financial sustainability, because these two goals are often perceived as contraposed to each other, especially in healthcare in India. And affordable health mission is one of the initiative undertaken under the leadership of visionary Dr. Nobel Chandra Bora, chairman, that ensures access to quality healthcare for everyone. This mission is an initiative to ensure access to quality healthcare services for every person in the society, irrespective of their financial background. And it is currently active in all the 33 districts of Assam and 2 districts in West Bengal. The objective is to create widespread awareness through education and advocacy about the adverse impact of lack of access to affordable healthcare on individuals, societies, and economies, and to collaborate with the members of the society to catalyze individual and collective action that ensure every human being has access to affordable healthcare of the highest quality delivered with empathy. And Swasthya Mitra, which is a very unique and ambitious initiative, which is aimed at providing the local support to the communities for providing and promoting health. This project is designed to have a local person for every 2 to 3 villages who's a native of the area, and they are well trained and they are made capable of creating awareness amongst the community for helping and guiding them when there is a medical need by means of identifying the nature of disease or disease based on the signs and symptoms, and accordingly they will guide them to seek a proper treatment without much delay. And they provide injection, they provide IV line, and they even suggest dietary and lifestyle changes that is required to control and to manage a good health condition. So the Swasthya Mitra, it's a pool of community workers overall called, and it's a workforce of more than 6,500 people. They work in the villages. They educate the common people about health-related issues and importance of the preventive care and awareness of the health-related issues and concept of the preventive health checkups and the lifestyle, the importance of healthy lifestyle choices. And 70% of this work, health workers aged between 35 to 55 years, either they are widowed, separated, or unmarried, thereby giving employment opportunities to those kind of people. And the GNRC has received global and national and global recognition. The top one, I can say that we have received appreciation from Saint Mother Teresa. And where the GNRC is appreciated for the commitment towards healthcare services. And the GNRC model is it has drawn attention of Microsoft founder and philanthropist Bill Gates also. Yes, appreciated, yes, mentioned like it is a great approach, a simple business plan that is helping healthcare reach more of India's poor, and it has gained international recognition. The World Bank has recognized this as one of the recognized its uniqueness, and it is considered as they have recognized this as one of first of its kind facility in the world for its uniqueness. And the GNRC model has touched millions of lives, by providing free lab procedures, free medicines to people, free ultrasonography, then free doctor consultation, free emergency treatment, free CT scan, and free ECG and free X-ray. And our journey still continues on. And the GNRC's core strength is encapsulated in its vision statement: health for all, smile for all. And now I conclude conveying my sincere thanks to Mr. Santosh for providing me the opportunity to be a speaker in this beautiful event. And thank you once again.
Thank you, Mr. Vinod, and would like to ask a few questions. My first question will be, how can healthcare systems around the world achieve the delicate balance between providing quality healthcare services and ensuring affordability for all? And what innovative approaches or technologies can be harnessed to make healthcare more sustainable
Yes,
without
I have detailed. The GNRC model is one of the classical example, and which is, as I was mentioning, it's a ultra low cost model, which is sustainable, which is replicable, which is scalable, and which is economical model. And the World Bank has recognized this model, and they are advocating this model to be taken to the different parts of the country and also to the different parts of the world. And I was mentioning some a detailed list of the sustainable strategies. Those can be, when we adopt those kind of strategies, and we can make the healthcare affordable. We can making it available and also the accessible. And as I was mentioning, we have taken some strategies to reach even the difficult to access areas also, to remote areas also. Even like the hospital on wheels, that is a very classical example. That is the buses travel to the remote areas to treat the patients free of cost. So when we adopt all this kind of sustainable strategies, we can make healthcare available and accessible at affordable rates.
Thank you, Mr. Vinod. Thank you for joining and sharing information with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for once again.
Our next speaker is Mr. Shadrach Kuvain, CEO and co-founder of ePharma app, a villager at heart. His last corporate role was with Deloitte. He then set up a management consulting firm and spent a decade scaling business, including scaling an SME from $500 to $2 million USD within 36 months, which received significant industry attention. During that quantum leap, he uncovered the sector's supply chains gap existing at the intersection of the informal and mainstream economics. Welcome, Mr. Shadrach, and over to you.
Thank you kindly. First and foremost, while I share my slide, I would like to convey my gratitude to the organizers and the GCP team in all respective territories And I would also like to convey my thanks to the visionary, Mr. Santosh, Commissar, Ambassador, for creating such a platform where these sustainable development goals discussions can be had. May you kindly confirm if you're able to see my screen?
Yes.
Thank you kindly. And thank you kindly for all the coordination. I will now segue into the talk itself. With that being said, I will be navigating the future of sustainable agriculture in this business age, and particularly what do you call it, in the digital age. I'm just navigating. There we are. Let me firstly pause and reflect. Having grown up myself, being raised by hardworking farmers here in Africa, my mother was a crop farmer, and my grandmother was a bit more adventurous. She did coffee bean farming in the heart of South Africa, something that is a bit unpopular. Is if you are familiar with the dynamics of the region, specifically that coffee mainly grows on the East Africa belt, but nonetheless, an ex-unionist, my grandmother would not take no for an answer. Having grown in that village, I then headwayed to the big city, where I got to grab a couple of educational opportunities. And that's how I ended up in the corporate world, coming from a family business. And of course, my last corporate role was with Deloitte, whereby I was part and parcel of strategic task teams that saw bringing into market new projects, new products. And hence, when we founded eFarmer, to now look at the plight and the burdens that are making the life of an African farmer cumbersome, it was a homecoming experience for me. And on that note, let me reflect on the typical story of most African farmers. We were, as a team, doing a due diligence on a certain farming corridor, and part of that was to visit those farmers. In one of those visits, the images displayed here on my slides are actually telling of what those visits were like. And what do you call it? And one of those visits, we had a truck that was full of crops that was now leaving the farming landscape to go to the big city with the harvest. And as my wife and co-founder Preeti was congratulating the farmer to say, look at all your hard work. How does it feel like to now have your hard work now leaving the farm, going to a retail shelf somewhere, because that was not coming to us, that crop? She went on to say, you don't know the half of it. And that is how she began to unravel the pain and the gaps, the glaring gaps that are showing non-sustainable farming practices, not particularly the farm itself, but the accessing the markets. That component is not sustainable. She said, by the time that particular truckload of food reaches your dinner table, I myself, me and my family, would actually most likely be starving and may not have dinner that night. And that's not the Africa we want. And that's how, when we were delving deeper into shaping and building the platform that is now eFarmer app, we looked at ensuring that the profit margins of farmers will be improved, as it was a glaring challenge, and the high barriers to market access or high barriers to entry, where things like quality assurance are used as a stick in order to negatively police or negatively enforce and make the life of farmers very difficult. That lends itself into financial exclusion instead of financial inclusion. And those are the three pillars that we headed into solving as we were shaping the platform that is eFarmer. For me, having been raised by two hardworking women, my mom and my granny, that they themselves were farmers, I was astounded when the UN announced the official figures that every night, including tonight, by the time you and I go to bed, including the audiences that are present in this forum, there is almost 100% likelihood that 811 million global citizens are going to go to bed hungry tonight. And lo and behold, a a percentage of that 811 million are actually hardworking farmers. Either they're going through lean seasons, or either they are facing financial difficulty, or in one way or the other, we as a global population, and we have among us people that are producing our food, people that are attempting to ensure food security in the world, but they themselves are food insecure. That's not that's not the global dynamic we want to see happen. Hence, when we ventured out to shape eFarmer, we were particularly looking at the Pan-African landscape. Africa is home to 40 million farmers. Only 17.5% of those are either semi-commercial or commercial farmers, and therefore they claim a dominance to 80% of most of the food that ends up in what we call mainstream retail, while the balance are just fending off poverty and just trying to perhaps deliver their food either to the men on the side of the road selling food, or they're trying to funnel their produce into other informal segments. And you know what? From today, I believe if you had to look at the SDGs and the 2030 and beyond, in 2035, Africa's population would have more than doubled. Today, it's a Saturday in most parts of the world, depending on your time zone. That 2035 milestone where Africa will be home to more than 2 billion, that is not too far away. It's only 583 Saturdays away. When you look at that, then you realize that a sustainable means to ensure inclusion and to ensure sustainability across the spectrum in our society is a measure, or rather is a task that we can no longer postpone to the backyard or to the back of the queue in terms of our priorities. Hence, we have taken up this task to drive digitization for inclusion, or as my co-founder often refers to it, tech for social good. And if you had to look at how do we navigate that, quality assurance is first and foremost. We have a method called QCC, quality, convenience, and consistency. That is how we bring about not only sustainability, but inclusion. Market access, of course. You can farm and farm like my grandmother did, like my mom did. But if your crops, beyond feeding your household, do not have an alternative platform or access to market where you could trade your crops for currency, for sustainable living, then you're not going to get very far as a farmer. And of course, sustainability in terms of leveraging technology for sustainable farming practices, sustainable methods, is something that is at the heart of our unfolding rollouts. What we have been working for, it's all about ensuring that farmers are connected directly to the market. eFarmer right now is home to more than 6,000 buyers. That is actually testament to our hardworking team and our engineering best practice, where we didn't just build this technology in isolation, but we co-created it around the needs and the blood, sweat, and tears of the African farmer. Obviously, the rest of the globe must watch the space, because beyond our Pan-African rollout, we will be looking at tapping into other global domains, all in the name of inclusion. It's not about getting big. It's not about starting the next unicorn. At least that's not the immediate goal now. The goal is to ensure that farmers do not go hungry. Of course, democratizing and lowering barriers to access when it comes to quality assurance and compliance is at the heart of our model, enabling that farmers can collaborate through addressing big orders that go beyond the size of the produce that they are able to master. That is what the platform has capabilities to do, to ensure aggregation. You know, these days in social media and elsewhere, it's all about let's collaborate. But to a farmer in a remote village, that collaboration is actually a pipe dream. It's a distant, unattainable dream until a platform like eFarmer ensures that they find not just access to market, but a sense of community. And of course, we're also in the business of eliminating unnecessary middlemen and power brokers that are not adding any value to the life of the farmer. Instead, they are just ensuring an inflation effect, an inflationary effect of always extracting value out of the farming or rather the agricultural value chain without actually bequeathing any value back into that. And of course, we are ensuring that when farmers can account for their cash flow, the volumes of produce that they are moving, they now subsequently have what we call proof of trade. With proof of trade, that's your big leap towards financial inclusion instead of exclusion. If you had to look at a high level, digitization in a macro context, Sub-Saharan Africa alone is home to anywhere between 415 to 600 million smartphones. That is quite a sizable, yet to be tapped opportunity. And my team and I at eFarmer, we don't see smartphones. When we look at this device here, we don't see a smartphone. We actually see a digital mall in the palm of the farmer. A few clicks of a button causes that farmer to be included in the much broader agricultural e-commerce value chain. And that inclusion to ensure that their produce can leave their village, can leave their semi-rural or or other peri-urban spaces and end up in our homes, in hotels, in restaurants. That's the Africa we want. So this over here is an untapped resource where, because farmers already have these smartphones, if farmer is not asking them to go out of their way and tap into, or rather try and afford what they don't have, just digitizing, or rather stretching the depth and width of the digitization in their palm. Because what we believe is that the next biggest farmers produce market on the continent of Africa is not going to be bricks and mortar. It's actually right here. It's digital. And with that being said, ensuring that product quality, just because we are including the farmer doesn't mean that we have to compromise on quality. Instead, our valued clients, 6,000 of them at the moment, they pride themselves in knowing that they can have peace of mind at their dinner table, because they know that lowering barriers to access does not necessarily mean that we lowered quality standard or we compromise in any way on ensuring that that produce is included on merits, not beyond our social obligation to the farmer. And before I wrap up, there is also, I believe India has that as well, and other parts of the world, including South Africa and the African continent. We have what we call farming co-ops. That is the age-old practice where farmers are self-organizing, and whether they are sharing equipment, whether they are sharing resources, or they are managing a seed bank together. If farmer arrives in that environment to ensure that we can now take this co-op mechanism or this community and sense of belonging to a digital platform, because if we don't go digital, we don't scale. On that note, without much further ado, because we work with smallholder farmers and semi-commercial farmers, I want to put it out there, dear audiences, that smallholder farmer that is allowed on our platform does not necessarily mean small-minded or small capacity. You could start right there where the dot is, where you are actually managing your own a plot of land, and we have seen the future that with that plot, if you are faithful and excellent in ensuring that your excellence is shown, not that on your plot, but in the quality of your produce, who knows? The Africa we want is where sustainability exists side by side with expansion. So we don't want our farmers to remain small. They can start small, but they can't remain small, because you would recall, dear audience, that Africa will have 2 billion mouths to feed in only 583 Saturdays from today. And with that being said, let me pause and welcome any questions you may have. The Africa we want and the future we want, even beyond Africa into India and the world, is a world where farmers do not go hungry, and when farmers are not excluded at the economic dinner table. Thank you kindly.
Thank you, Mr. Satra. Thank you for joining, and that was really helpful information you shared with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you kindly.
Next speaker we have Ms. Shweta Dogal, State Lead Orissa, Central Square Foundation. She has a master's in social work with 15 plus years of experience in education. In the non-profit sector, she had lead education program and designed contextual initiatives including that one teachers, professional development, school governance, and educational reform. Over the years, she has worked with a diverse set of stakeholders in the government, non-government, and corporate domains. Welcome, Ms. Shweta, and over to you.
Thank you, Ananya. Just let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, it's visible and kindly, yes, it's in slideshow.
Yeah. So I'm looking at quality education. Definitely, I work with Central Square Foundation, and now our focus is on foundational literacy and numeracy, and system reform. However, when talking about SDG 4, which is quality education, I am looking at from a perspective of a practitioner in India of a civil society, and have tried to consolidate the insights over the years and what has been the historical situation with the civil society, and what is the contemporary situation, current status, and then what are we looking at. So when we begin with, briefly, if you look at what has been the education journey in India so far. So since beginning, education has been a project of nation building, as Dr. Padma Sarangpani has said oftentimes, while reflecting on NCF 2005, that we, as a new democratic nation, education was seen as through various education policies as a project of nation building, where diversity and diverse regions were brought together, and a mature society was, founded. Education, however, research also has been saying over the years that it is not only critical for a collective or a GDP growth of a country, but also individual well-being, and these both actually speak to each other. So within that context, if you look at how in India, the education has progressed, we made quite a few gains. Like the enrollment has actually seen quite a jump. When we look at the literacy rate in India, we started as a new nation with 18.33%. And now, as per 2011 census, and obviously a new census will have made quite a leap further, gender gap has reduced significantly, the gender in enrollment as well as outcomes of education. Access to education has become much more easier, with schools being located, primary schools, 1 kilometer from child's, sorry for the background noise. So education schools, and then access to universities and higher education colleges. What has actually lent to it is national education policies, setting up University Grant Commission, and Right to Education Act has actually significantly jump-started us into a more professionalized and education where, the quality of teaching and learning practices has been focused at. Inclusion has been a very critical piece of policies across, and there has been, some leaps and very small steps in terms that have been made. Kasturba Gandhi Balika Vidyalaya clearly for inclusion, NPGL policy, Adarsh Vidyalaya for tribal children, and midday meal program, which totally focused on retention and enrollment of children. However, when we look at this, we also look at what are the gaps. And however, there are a lot of leaps that we have made, there are gaps. If you look at the foundational learning level, 73% of the students have not been able to read the grade 3 text. Grade 2 text at grade 3 level. 80% of the students cannot do subtraction at grade 3 level, which are the foundational competencies. And foundational competencies are actually basic to children's continuity into education and as well as future success after school. Learning poverty, as demonstrated by the World Bank report, is high, 55% in India. And after pandemic, it has further dented our position. Retention rates also show that over the years, though we have worked well in enrollment, our retention rates significantly drop over the education levels. So there is a lot to consider. And when we look at ourselves as a civil society, what are the challenges that we are looking at while working with the system? They're definitely, both for access, which we have surmounted over decades, is social challenges of identity, of access, of gender, and disparities of opportunities across regions and for different communities. Availability of opportunities have mostly been centralized and then distributed to other areas and regions. And the more we moved away from the center, the education opportunities have decreased. Even now, that has been the case. Similarly, if you look at political will, which has shown a little improvement, but earlier there were, like CWSN children are still hidden in our country. We still don't talk about the needs very substantially of CWSN children in education. There is an effort to address it, but there is still a lot more that needs to be done. Perceptions also of the actors and agents on how much is enough for the girl child. There was very common, even among the NGO circles, that should the girl child be taught sewing, which is an important skill, so that they could earn money or run a house. However, the long-term education and long-term independence and self-dependence of the girl child has taken time to come about and take a mature form. If you look at what are the key determinants of quality education and access and equity in education, qualified teachers, research says that it is one of the key determinants. A good teacher in the school is a key determinant of quality education and the success of the child. That is compounded by the fact of curricular reform. If there is a good curriculum, that further adds to the child's learning and child's opportunities and life chances. School as an academic institution, India has dabbled with a lot with autonomy of the school and school leadership, which is basically an instructional leadership. It's an academic institution. But it also is dependent on the kind of resources that are available at the school level. School has often been, because it's a government system, especially government schools, the schools have also been center of other activities which have not been academic. And therefore, it has been burdened by a lot of other key aspects of the school system and outside the school system, say election duties and other availability of midday meal or infrastructure responsibilities, which burdens the school staff in delivering education. And the moment we move away from the center, there are much more multi-grade schools. There are much more need for diversity, like multilingual education, which has been much talked by NEP, but there is not much which can be done in a system which is overburdened. Continuing into higher education, obviously, is a key determinant of success of a country and an individual. It shows in the GDP, also impacts the GDP. However, if you look at the open schooling or quality of higher education available in interior areas, it is still wanting. But again, children's continuity into higher education or students' continuity is a key determinant of, it's an indicator of success of equity and access. How has been civil society's contribution in, therefore, in such a scenario or landscape of education? Historically, there were civil society was critique. They used to critique the practices, critique the policies of the system, and contribute to it through their own model practices of what it can be. Hoshangabad Science Teaching Project, working with specially abled children, or Mahila Shikshan Kendras, which were parallel to what was set up through a government project, but in a much more NGO format. NGOs were also engaged in delivery of schemes and providing education directly to communities, say in Rajasthan and other remote areas, where the school system had still not reached. Schools were still not 1 kilometer, primary school was still not 1 kilometer away for a very long time. There were very little scale programs, and professionals in the sector were somewhat trained. There were a lot of people who had come from the community, and they were community-based organizations. In the contemporary times, if we look at it, there's much more focus at the scale of programs, because the outreach and the nature how the education system works has also changed with RTE, where a teacher requires to be a B.Ed. So all non-formal education centers have weaned off. NGOs are positioned within and outside the system. The professionals can be much more equipped into the domain knowledge, which is much more complex with the increasing needs of the changing times. Community-based initiatives have had a reduced focus, and there is much more flourishing of edtech if you look at the pandemic's context. If you look at what has worked in the contemporary system of a civil society, there is a much more increased understanding of the system because a lot of organizations are working with the system. The organizations are geared towards leveraging evidence. There is an ability to leverage evidence, both qualitative and quantitative. There is availability of trained professionals, especially in the domain of education, with universities offering masters in education. There has been building on the past knowledge, and intersectoral engagement has increased, where the good practices and good competence of capabilities of for-profit, government, and not-for-profit sector there's an effort to bring it together. There's easy availability of knowledge and opportunities that can be provided to the key beneficiary, that is the student and teachers. And there is a multiplicity of interventions, sometimes on the same area of work, say, vocational or FLN or hands-on science education. What requires attention is that we need to reflect on whether the use of evidence is output focused. What is the evidence being used for? Still the local communities are far off the center in terms of reach, in terms of educational opportunities, and in terms of contextualized interventions, which actually speak to a contextual, multilingual, or a CWSN child, or a remote region's requirements. There is a need for setting up exemplars still, so that the school communities are enabled further and they become autonomous, which is also a key determinant for a success of an education system. There is awareness of how organizations are positioned. However, there is a deliberate positioning required at different education levels, regions, and within the system or outside the system, and what is required to be done. And therefore, the solution would, what is the outcome that an organization or an initiative is looking at? Would it work within the system or outside the system, or a mix of two? That requires a deliberate positioning right now. Funding being time-bound has been one of the challenges that has been often talked about. If you look at one of the government projects, which was a outcome of National Education Policy 1986, it was not a time-bound project, but it had a lot of outcomes for women and adolescent education at that time. And it took about 20 to 25 years to set up all Mahila Panchayat. So we also need to look at that change takes time, education change takes time. Research, longitudinal research is saying, and across the country is telling us that it takes time. So the tying up of a civil society due to the funding actually affects the kind of contribution they can make to access and equity and quality of education, therefore inform the initiatives. So what we are looking at is, now it's a good time where the civil society is, that we are looking at dichotomy between, we need to deliberate between what we are engaging with, scale versus a small quality initiative, because both of these are required, and life chances of the students are significantly impacted even through quality and small initiatives. So both are valuable. Accountability needs to be revisited, where we are looking at, in the changing times, where not only the technology boom is there, or there is a change in the way jobs will be, change in jobs of future, but there is an impending climate change that we are looking into. So what are the outcomes that we are looking at? What is it that we are preparing the system and the students, therefore? And we need to be a little more outcome focused than being process focused. EdTech has come up as a big way, but is it a means? We cannot replace teachers or educational opportunities or in interpersonal engagements which are of quality of scaffolding the children, especially in the foundational stage or key stages where children are entering into colleges. So that needs to be reflected upon. Research, evidence-based has been quite being talked about, but there is also building a research around which can inform practice and building this bridge. It's actually very critical that in India we build the bridge between academia and the practice, and that they speak to each other. There is a much more requirement like contextual interventions of having a ear to the ground and looking, actually informing through professional and very informed approach of complexity of the teaching practice. It is not simple. It comes through different disciplines, and then also addresses a contextual reality. So a much more informed approach is required. So therefore, both evidences from the field and research needs to be speaking to each other for that. Contextualized approach, no one size fits all. If we need to have a last mile, if we want to create exemplars and exemplars of how a last mile beneficiary is affected, we need to have a much more contextualized approach. When we are informing policy, it is much more need of the hour that it is bottom up and there is a collective effort of deliberation to bring insights from practice. And there is a rigor in approach because we are positioned in a way where we have access to not only national but international practices. So I think when we are looking as a civil society towards informing the SDG 4 for 2030, I think these are some of the things that we need to deliberate upon. Yeah, that's about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shweta. That was really useful, and thank you for joining with us. Next speaker we have Mr. Dan Reynolds, COB, Engine Ecofills Inc. Mr. Reynolds' first business was at 15 when he started a bicycle repair activity in his stepfather's garage behind the sailboat they raced on many weekends. Since his high school was teaching him nothing that would help him survive in life, he quit and joined US Navy at the age of 17 years. He ended his time with the US Navy at Miramar Naval Airfield outside San Diego. He helped to build up the 1990 Invention Convention in Pasadena, CA, to draw more people than the CA Auto Show of the same year. He decided to stay in the Philippines to finish his research and development, after which he applied for and received his patent in 2019. Then in Q1 2020, with the help of an angel investor, he started Engine EcoPlus Inc. to distribute the carbon cutter device worldwide. Welcome, Mr. Trainer, and over to you.
Good evening, all. Well, it's evening here anyways. Okay. There's been a lot of talk regarding United Nations SDGs, both in the actions to attain them and the results of these actions. And this is what I'd like to speak on today, with attention on a few specific SDGs that we happen to deal with. So I'll start with SDG number 1, which is no poverty, to put it shortly. So I'm sorry, but there is no magic wand to reduce poverty in a single wave. But there are many, many poor utility drivers. And if their income is increased by lowering their fuel costs, and this can be easily and inexpensively done, then that sector of life on Earth improves. And if this is done in a manner that also reduces utility vehicle emissions, then the lives of all the people, plants, and animals in the area of that project also improve. So there are multiple underutilized solutions for this in many parts of the world. So this data could be an interesting subject of trade between countries, because I'm sure it's not going to be exactly the same in any one area. So let's move on to SDG number 3, good health and well-being. And vehicle fuels for combustion vehicles, gasoline and diesel specifically, the fumes of these fuels are highly poisonous. Yet even the modern engines made today burn no more than 65% of the fuel that is sent into them to burn. And unburned fuel, which is black carbon, soot, PM 2.5, kills 7 million people early each year, according to the WHO. And how many animals and plants would be included in those numbers? All people, all animals, all plants need to breathe. If the quality of their air is improved, healthier lives are achieved for the plants, for the animals, and for the humans. There are also, again, many, many underutilized solutions for this. And I know, personally, I know that there are solutions in many countries. So this data could be traded quite handily in between countries. So how about SDG number 7, affordable and clean energy? Again, back to the combustion fuels, diesel and gasoline generators are everywhere. Hundreds of thousands of them, possibly millions. And as above, these engines spit out unburned fumes by the tons. So greatly reducing these unburned emissions guarantees cheaper energy for all, cleaner energy for all. And again, if this can be done drastically cheaper than installations of what are called renewable energy, then this could be a factor worthy of attention. And data on how to do this in various sectors already exists and should be shared between countries. Again, it's not going to be the same. The technology is not going to be the same in any one country. So how about SDG number 11, sustainable cities and communities? As in SDG number 1, there is no magic wand to turn cities into instantly sustainable, clean environments for humans, plants, and animals. This just will not happen. It will take huge amounts of energy and money, tremendous re-engineering, and lots of time. While this is being accomplished, inexpensive, simple, yet effective methods for reducing a city's emissions and bettering its environment may be a worthy idea of consideration, again, by all countries. Okay, I'm going to jump into 2 SDGs now. SDG number 13 and which is climate action, and SDG number 15, life on land, which happens to be where we live. So 2 different areas. CO2 is considered by most to be a major contributor in climate change. No more needs to be said on that subject. It's well documented and what have you. So lots of data on that. PM 2.5 is also known to affect climate. And in the UN's COP24 special report, they stated that PM 2.5 is responsible for 25 to 48% of climate change. Yet this is not generally promoted and most definitely not adequately addressed. In my opinion, PM 2.5 reduction should be given as much attention and funding as carbon offsets. So where can solutions for these 2 be found? Electric vehicles are considered to be our savior in the transport sector of these SDGs. Yet this action can simply not be accomplished fast enough to make a realistic change in either CO2 or PM 2.5 outputs. This is due to the time for materials to be mined, the time needed for manufacturing, as well as the time for distribution, the current condition of the electric grids, the high costs of this new technology, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Instant switch is just not going to happen. And we've got 2 billion vehicles on this planet to be switched. Isn't going to happen. Now, combustion engines have been around for 150 years. And for 120 years, there have unfortunately been more scams on the subject of engine efficiency than truly effective solutions. But there have been many, many truly effective solutions. Mostly, these have been squashed. By who or for what reason, that's not the subject of this talk. But again, it might be a good idea for various country environmental ministries or agencies to look at, test, and utilize some of these ideas for the good of their own and maybe their neighbors' environments. So lastly, I'd like to work on SDG number 17. That's partnerships for the goals. All the above collective points to a possible subject of cooperation between countries in order to better not only their own environment, but their neighbors as well. And with that, become a larger country to all the world because of the service they have offered. Now, if you would like further information or assistance with the above, I'm more than happy to share that with you. But my hope is to see all countries sharing such data as a fulcrum of trade, so it can be given its due attention, as this would only help us all to win the current war on pollution. And as such, is deserving of a high level value that simply should not be ignored. So with that, then I also offer to answer any questions that may pop up.
Thank you, Mr. Renner. Thank you for joining us today, and that was really helpful. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me on again.
Thank you all for participating in this Knowledge Sharing Global Sustainable Development Summit 2023. Special thanks to all the speakers who shared their valuable insights with us today. With this, we come to an end for today's summit. And once again, I would like to say thank you for joining us today from the entire GCPIT team. Thank you.